Welcome into the Bonesville Pregame Podcast. Al Myatt, joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, an outstanding defensive back at East Carolina, culminating his career with that illustrious team in 1999 as a captain of the Pirates when they went 9-3, had some great wins that season at South Carolina, over Miami of Florida, in Raleigh, beat Army at Army, beat NC State in Greenville. And Kevin, of course, has been with Pirate Radio Network 23 years, and he's going to be stepping aside from those responsibilities next year to follow his oldest son, Marcus Monroe, is going to be, it appears, going to Stanford. And, of course, his younger son, Derek Butter McNeil, he's received an offer already from East Carolina after his freshman year at Green Level. So Kevin's going to be a dad next season. We're hoping maybe that we can continue doing the Bonesville Pregame Show, but nonetheless, we talk about that. Not the greatest conversation piece, that game at Texas San Antonio last week, Kevin, 58-24 win for the Roadrunners. And we kind of saw for real what that home winning streak against conference opponents is about for UTSA. They get out to a 31-0 lead. And East Carolina battled, I thought, throughout the game, but just not a whole lot went the Pirates' way.
Yeah, thank you for your kind words. We also got Duke at home that year, '99. That was another good win for the Pirates in my senior year.
Was it West Virginia to start out with also?
That's right, in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And yeah, my boys are doing well. High school ball. Marcus, we presume, will sign his letter of intent next Wednesday. I think it's next Wednesday. It's actually the 3rd. Yeah. And so presumably it's Stanford. So we'll see. We'll have to wait till signing day to figure that out. And we're super excited about that. And then, yeah, Butter had a great season and got an offer from East Carolina and has gotten some postseason accolades as well, including honorable mention all conference in his conference. So he's excited about that. So thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, this game was wow. Put it this way: on Monday morning, an East Carolina graduate and a good buddy of mine at the office came into my office and wanted to talk about the game, and I was still so mad about it. I said, I don't want to talk about it, and sent him out of my office. It just, I don't know. It felt like, I'll tell you what it felt like. It felt like UTSA wanted the game more than the Pirates did. And they played that way from the very beginning of the game, offensively, defensively, special teams, and they never let up. You can see the look on the coaches' faces for UTSA. And then the announcers on ESPN kept alluding to the fact that in their meetings with the head coach, he brought up, the game last year in Greenville and how he felt like East Carolina out-physicaled them. It was only, I think, 30-20 games, something like that. But he felt like East Carolina beat up on them, including, the picture of East Carolina knocking McCown's helmet off. A clean hit, I may add. But I think, they felt like Pirate players maybe mocked them or posted those pictures on socials, and it was about them and not about the Pirates just celebrating a win. And you know how coaches are with bulletin board material. He really used that as fuel. And it felt like they hated us on Saturday, and it worked. And so I would just say, if I'm going to give an opinion, give any piece of advice to our coaching staff, is to never again go into a game allowing the other team to want it more than you. And I know that wasn't their intention, but they had an edge. They had a chip on their shoulder that usually the Pirates have that we didn't have. So even if you have to make up some bulletin board material, those guys have to be ready to go each week, and they have to want it more than the other team. And I felt like on Saturday that wasn't the case. And I'll add, you said you get down 31-0, and I'm so used to JDB making adjustments offensively and getting things going, and I'm so used to Coach Aldridge. Before him, it was Coach Harrell making adjustments defensively, to where we would figure out what other teams were doing at some point. and start to make stops. I mean, take a look at the NC State game, the second half of that game. Take a look at the Tulane game, the second half of that game. There's been times where we played maybe better teams, more talented teams than us, where we've shut them down in second halves. And we're outscoring everybody in second halves by double. And this was one of those games where even in the second half, they matched our scoring. We never seemed to figure out what they were doing, and that was disappointing. So a lot happened in that game. It's one of those things where you just have to turn the page and move on. But I wouldn't expect a Blake Harrell team to ever have a game like that where they just get blitzed from the beginning against a comparable opponent and things don't change.
I will say, Kevin, that officiating, I think, was a factor. It was not a deciding factor, but the targeting call where an East Carolina player was ejected from the game, I thought there was a glancing contact with helmets, but I thought he really hit him with his shoulder. I didn't see that as being a targeting. And then on some of the plays early in the game that helped San Antonio, get that lead, there was some holding apparently that did not get called. And, a hold at the point of attack, that can spring a play. You well know that. So just to mention that, to be honest about that game, I think that was a factor. And San Antonio has the kind of confidence that nobody's going to come in there from the conference and beat them. I think maybe they lost to Texas A&M this year. Not sure where that game was, but that they have not beat everybody that's come in there. And some of it is because they've played maybe some opponents that are above their playing level, but they beat Memphis in there. Then, like you mentioned, they beat Tulane in there this year. It looks like Tulane is a virtual shoe-in to host the conference championship this year. And credit to Owen McCown. He accounted for 6 touchdowns. And maybe if he got his helmet knocked off last year in Greenville, then he had a little extra motivation. But good genes, like we were mentioning earlier. His dad played in the NFL, had an extended career. And so that young man has done a great job. I think he transferred in, but he was a quarterback last year in Greenville that had the episode with the helmet that you mentioned. So they did a great job, and he stepped up because their leading rusher, Robert Henry, did not play, and the backup performed well.
Yeah, you say a lot of good things there, and I'll start with the targeting call. I completely agree with you, and I think there should be an adjustment in the rules. At least there should be some objectivity as it pertains to if a guy collides with another player's head or neck, but the player is in the air, either jumping or diving, where he leaves his feet. I'm talking about the receiver or running back, and the defender collides with them. There has to be something in there where the referee can say, okay, well, had he not dove, this wouldn't have been targeting, because certainly the diving receiver from UTSA changed his plane in terms of where he was headed, where he was before our player launched into him. And yeah, there was a little bit of a bump on the head, but I don't think he was aiming for that, and it just was unfortunate. So I'm in agreement with you. I don't think that was targeting, and there should be a way for those officials to decipher that based on that player leaving his feet. And also, Henderson at running back he's a fast guy, and he was turning the corner and getting downfield, and you could see some of our players trying to get off of their guys, and very few holds were called. And so, listen, we were down 31-0. It certainly was not the officiating that caused us to be down by that much, but it didn't help that on some of their big plays, some holding calls were missed. So, I don't feel bad about bringing it up because the situation happened. But certainly, we just got to play better. But yeah, they were, McCown was solid. They mixed up the run and the pass as good as anybody has against the Pirates this year. Moved the ball down the field. But defense, I think you mentioned, prior to our call, the Pirates only converted twice on third downs all day. And that was a killer. I mean, it just seemed like it was so many 3 and outs, or we'd get a couple first downs and then we'd get off the field. We just couldn't sustain any drives. And once you get down by a lot, you can't afford to try to get the run game back going because you got to find a way to get points on the board quick. That means you got to throw the football. And obviously, without Yannick Smith, that was made a little bit tougher.
Definitely. And on the targeting call, that was a third down, and East Carolina would have been off the field if they had not upheld that call. And they looked at it, and I thought when they looked at it, it was going to get overturned, but not the case. And just some questionable officiating from East Carolina's standpoint in that game. And it was early in the game to where change of possession at that point in the game would have maybe been a factor.
That's right.
But credit to UTSA, win 25 straight games at home against conference competition. That's a great accomplishment. And the thing that the Pirates can't do at this point is let one loss beat them twice. And so they've got to bounce back. Thanksgiving week, Florida Atlantic coming up. And that's going to be a nice setting there in Boca Raton, Florida. I think the high Saturday in Greenville is going to be 45 degrees, and the high at the game site is going to be 75. So maybe not a bad trade-off as far as Thanksgiving is concerned.
Yeah. I mean, some people like it cold, late November, and they want to start feeling the seasons change. Obviously, we're in the fall. But, listen, I love the warm weather. I'm a South kid, growing up in Montgomery, Alabama. I spent some time in Okinawa, Japan, and I spent a lot of time in Greenville. And I'm just used to the hot weather. And, man, it's been, I think today it's 70-something degrees outside. So it's been some nice weather, but it's going to get a little colder. And I think we're probably going to start getting more into that fall, winter weather. So Boca Raton might be a welcome change of scenery for the Pirates.
Well, Florida Atlantic is 4-7. They don't have a chance to win and go to a bowl game. That was another thing about UTSA. They were playing for bowl eligibility. So that's like a motivating factor there. And they were able to become bowl eligible. But Florida Atlantic, I imagine it'll be their senior day. They have a first-year coach. I think they've got to transfer a quarterback. And they have had their moments this year, but they've not been real strong on a consistent basis.
Yeah, they're an interesting team because they are competitive. I mean, they played the top team in the league like Tulane and only lost by 10 or 12 points. So they've been in some good ball games. They've not really been blown out. They beat Tulsa by about 20. So, comparable to some of the opponents that East Carolina has had, they've played them similarly. So I've been impressed with them. Their issue is on defense. They're giving up almost 36 points a game. You just can't win games consistently giving up that many points. But offensively, they can score. I mean, they're at about 31, 32 points a game offensively. This quarterback, Camp, is throwing for almost 3,500 yards, 24 touchdowns. Now, his issue is he's throwing some interceptions. He's thrown 15 interceptions on the year. So the Pirates have to find a way to get him to turn the football over. They've got two solid running backs in Sands and Shields Dutton that are both averaging 4 or 5 yards a carry, and they use those guys interchangeably. So they've got some weapons offensively. They got a receiver that's caught for almost 1,000 yards so far this season, and so they are very athletic, as Florida teams always are. They play hard, and they've been in a lot of games. They've had some bad luck, but when they play, they can beat most any teams that they play. And so this is another team the Pirates cannot take lightly, because if they go in there, on the road, another scenario where the place won't be packed, and if they don't bring their own energy, this is a team that can beat them. Certainly, if they play like they played against UTSA. But as I said, it's a team that gives up a lot of points. So if the Pirates can jump on them early and kind of get them into that woe is me feeling, I think they can do okay against them.
You mentioned Yannick Smith earlier, one of East Carolina's top receivers, and it kind of put a burden on Brock Spalding and Anthony Smith at San Antonio, I think, not to have Yannick in there, because you really can't devote too much coverage attention when you've got multiple talented receivers. And so Blake Harrell had said Monday there's a possibility Yannick Smith will play this week. I don't think he's going to be out there if he's hobbling around like the Memphis quarterback was. I think they'll let him sit out and get ready for the bowl game. But as far as the bowl game, 7-5 potentially with a loss. East Carolina's not had back-to-back losses this season, but 8-4 with a win, and that's going to get you a better bowl than 7-5.
Yeah, to your first point about Yannick, I mean, he's a big deal. They don't throw him the ball a ton, but he is a guy that they use. He's a big body. They like to use him in the red zone. They like to use him on third downs as he catch that slant or that hitch and box out corners that are smaller. And so, not having him was a big deal. And so it allows defenses to then either play cover two, where they can roll safeties over top of Anthony Smith and Brock Spalding. They can play some kind of two-man and do the same thing where they have man underneath and the safeties over top. Or they can go kind of man-free and leave a safety in the middle of the field. He can maybe shade towards Anthony Smith or something like that. When you've got three receivers that are really, really good, it takes that away, and it makes you play more straight up defensively. Now, what East Carolina has been able to do in the past, and what I thought they would do this game, was use the tight ends more effectively, because we have two very athletic tight ends, and work them over the middle of the field. And I will say one play we haven't talked about was Connor over the middle early in the game had a nice catch, first down, and gets the ball stripped from him and a fumble, and gave the ball up to UTSA. And that was a big play in the game. I mean, that was a time where East Carolina was moving the ball, had an opportunity to get in field goal range or score a touchdown, and they gave the ball right back to UTSA. So yeah, it was a struggle not having Yannick out there, because he provides a lot, and he makes the defenses play honest. So that was definitely a big factor in the game.
Yes, and that was a point that Coach Harrell made Monday in regard to that fumble by Connor. Pirates were trying to make plays, but the plays weren't made or whatever, and it was the effort was there. I think one factor, some teams respond well to losses, and hopefully East Carolina has that in their nature as they go to play the Florida Atlantic Owls. And, kind of having getting that losing taste out of the mouth is not something that you want. I think East Carolina has had some teams in the past few years that losing just became a habit.
Yeah.
And the team 2 years ago that got that win at Florida Atlantic, it seemed like they were just not capable of controlling their fate to the point of being able to produce wins. And they kind of knew that. And those teams kind of wait for something to happen, and things decline from there. So I don't think this East Carolina team is like that. They may come out super motivated, and certainly the outcome there and the course of that game in San Antonio shows the value of a fast start. And East Carolina has done that with success and decided games in that manner several times this year. I wouldn't be surprised to see East Carolina just come out on fire on Saturday.
That's exactly right. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they've got to score in their first possession. But if they don't score in their first possession, get a few first downs and flip the field, pin them deep, and then come out and play defense and get off the field that way. And so that was part of the problem. I think East Carolina got the ball first. They didn't move it hardly at all, gave UTSA the ball back in good field position, allowed them to score. UTSA also had the ball in the second half. And so many different things kind of spiraled because they didn't start fast.
Yep. And San Antonio certainly took advantage of that situation. They were a lot like East Carolina in the matchups with Army and Tulsa this year, where they got the fast start and just built on it and played with the lead. Some teams don't play well with the lead. I know Campbell this year, I've kept up with them. Campbell has had the lead in every conference game they played this year in the Coastal Athletic Association, and yet they went, I believe, 2-6 in league play. Couldn't maintain the lead.
Yeah.
And so East Carolina's done a good job playing in front this year. Hopefully that'll be the case Saturday. And Kevin, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. And I'm going to turn it over to you for that Bonesville tradition, Kevin's keys to the game.
Yeah, thanks, Al. And I think we just talked about it a little bit. My very first key, get that fast start. And part of what I'm saying is if you get the ball first, You got to drive down the field, try to get in field goal range, try to get a touchdown. Either way, if you don't, flip the field, pin them, FAU back deep, and get your defense out there so that when you get the ball back, you're in good field position to score some points. I think in the games that they've scored points, you mentioned a couple of them, they've been able to dominate. And so I think if they can get a fast start and put some points on the board, it allows them to keep the running game going, which has been great prior to last week's game. That allows you, if you don't have Yannick Smith offensively, the run game will help you hide some of the issues that you may have at receiver, but also you won't be as stressed to stretch the field. You can kind of dink and dunk and methodically get your way downfield. So fast start is going to be a big deal on Saturday, and that's one of the things they're going to have to do. Defensively, this quarterback, is a good player. Belkamp, we've talked about. He likes to stretch the field. He likes to throw the ball deep. He's got a lot of yards passing. We've got to be good in the secondary. We cannot allow balls to go over the top of our head. You got to stay deep. You got to be able to make tackles. Got to make the play on the football back deep. So no big plays in the passing game. Also, get some pressure on them. The Pirates have done a good job throughout the season. Didn't get a ton of pressure on McCown. He was a good runner, and he was able to stretch the pocket a little bit. They've got to get more pressure on the quarterback. This quarterback will throw some interceptions. He's got 15 on the season. If they can get some pressure up front, and those guys can stay deep, they can break on some balls and make some plays. And then, lastly, I think that the turnovers are a big deal. We talked about the interceptions that this quarterback has thrown. Our quarterback, Hauser, threw a pick six last week. Just weird situation when the ball kind of bounced. But we got to take care of the football, and we've got to take away the football. When you're on the road, you cannot afford to throw pick sixes. You got to stay on top of the turnover battle. So beginning of the game, getting a fast start, playing deep, not giving up any deep balls, and winning the turnover battle, I think will be keys in this game.
Very good, Kevin. And ECU had a Thanksgiving meal scheduled for Thursday in the Murphy Center, and hopefully they enjoyed that and they're ready to play Saturday. As always, enjoyed visiting with you on the Bonesville Pregame Podcast, and we'll look forward to doing it before the bowl game.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Al.